As we're a Smoke Shaper, 4 mana for a 3/3 ninjutsu 2. When it enters the battlefield, another target creature you control gains indestructible. So this is just a ninja where you can like be aggressive with your creatures, and then whatever's getting blocked gets protected, so you don't lose creatures on the attack and can keep on attacking. Not like amazing or anything, but not terrible either. Cabal Therapist. This is a card that got a lot of like hype and people talking about it and stuff. 1 mana for 1/1. I like this art. I think it's sweet. I've heard some people don't like the art. Whatever. They're haters. 1/1 Menace. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you can sacrifice a creature. When you do, choose a non-land card name. Then target player reveals their hand and discards all cards with that name. When I first read that, I was like, okay, so you're going to have to play this card. You're going to have to wait a turn, because it's at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase. So if you play this card on your main phase, you have to wait a turn before you'll be able to do it again. But it's kind of interesting in like an Aether Vial deck, or if you're going to like Chord for it, surprise the opponent that way. I don't know, a one-shot Cabal Therapy with Suspend. I guess it's not a one-shot because you can like sacrifice other creatures that want to be sacrificed. But just the having to wait a turn is my only hang up with the card. But maybe it's good. Maybe it's really good. A lot of people seem to think that it's really good. Mardu Pyromancer. Yeah, I don't know. Good with Bridge. Yeah, kinda. You're not gonna play this in Dredge, right? You have to like play it and then like wait a turn, and then you can sack a thing to get a 2/2. That doesn't sound good. That sounds terrible. Cabal Therapy is a card that you can mill in Dredge. And so it's like great with Bridge, and it's just like great in Dredge. It's just great. Does seem really slow. Yep. All right, Carrion Feeder. This card I'm very excited about, and I'm going to play in a lot of different decks over the years. Kind of cool art too. I like it. All hunched over, nomming on that Carrion. Nom 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 nom. Yep. Obvious slot into Vengevine in terms of quasi-playable decks that already exist, but I think it's going to open up some archetypes. I've been playing it recently in Pauper, Carrion Feeder, and it's the one card where I was like, this is better than what we have in Modern. This is a pretty nuts card. It's pretty good. Why Vengevine? Because Vengevine is already playing shitty like Viscera Seer. And a Viscera Seer that attacks well because it grows into a 5/5 is so much better than a Viscera Seer. Sometimes that deck plays Gargadon, and Gargadon's pretty terrible as well. And Carrion Feeder is great. So Dredgevine is specifically the deck I'm talking about, where you're sacrificing Gravecrawlers over and over again to trigger Vengevine and whatnot. Yes, there are a few. It also gives you another sack outlet to go infinite with. Changeling Outcast. 1 mana for a 1/1. Can't block and can't be blocked. This card will actually see a lot of play. It's going to see a lot of play in Pauper. It's a unblockable enabler for ninjas. That also counts as a fairy, right? For Spellstarter Sprite. What are we doing? Oh yeah, Changeling Outcast. Yeah, I think this card's sweet. Obviously great in limited, especially if you're ninjaing people. 1 mana, 1/1, unblockable. And then Changeling is like every tribe, so I don't know if there's any relevant slivers. I don't think there are. Maybe there are. And then, yeah. Gonna be great in Pauper. Gonna be great in limited. Not sure if it'll show up in Modern ever, even as like a role player. Just not quite powerful enough. Cordial Vampire, 2 mana for a 1/1. Whenever it or another creature dies, put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. Yeah, hard to imagine vampires doing much, but that is a powerful effect. A little too wonky for limited. So probably not getting there in either format. Crypt Rats, Pauper All-Star. I can't remember if we have Crypt Rats yet in Modern or not. I don't expect it to do much. It's probably like a little too wonky. You can only spend black mana on X. It's kind of a deal breaker, right? Powerful card though. Powerful, powerful card. Nothing in this set was already in Modern? Okay, good to know. I can stop asking that question. Cool. But yeah, Crypt Rat's gonna be a limited bomb, and I don't see it showing up in Modern. Dead of Winter, 2 and a black. All non-snow creatures get -X until end of turn, where X is the number of snow permanents you control. Yeah, you build around it. That's a limited bomb right there, right? One-sided sweepers, always pretty great. Gonna be hard to get enough snow permanents for this to really matter for constructed, right? Like the creatures in Modern grow real fast. They're like, your opponents are either Arcbound Ravaging with hardened scales in play, or they're playing like Death Shadows or what have you. The humans are growing. It's hard to imagine this one seeing play. Defile, 1 black. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn for each swamp you control. It's a fine little trick/removal. It's an instant, right? So you can play it mid-combat for limited play. Diabolic Edict. I'm usually not a big fan of edicts in limited. Because at the beginning of the game, you get their worst creature, because they only have like 1 creature in play, right? When you play it, you just like getting their Goblin Piker. But that's also their best creature, so it's like pretty solid early on. Later, it's hard to get really good value out of it, because they just sacrifice whatever their worst creature is. So it's usually not worth a card. Usually it's some like value 1/1 hanging out, or something you've already put a pacifism on, right? It's very atrocious with pacifism effects. So that's a non-bow you have to be aware of when you're building your decks. Sometimes you have to play it. Sometimes you strat for removal. Sometimes just casting edict effects over and over again are just fine, because your opponent just doesn't have anything. Sometimes you can play little infest type effects, like this Dead of Winter card, and then that'll clear the way for edict to get good cards later. Dreadscape Sliver, 2 mana for a 2/2. Each Sliver creature you control in your graveyard has Unearthed 2. Interesting. Yeah, it's hard to evaluate how good that would be in constructed slivers, but that's like borderline interesting, right? Give you a little bit of staying power post sweepers, and if they kill a creature that has a sliver that has like a key ability, right? Like say they kill your sliver that has flying, and then the next turn you can like play this card and get the flying sliver back. Or if they kill the creature the sliver that gives haste, you can like get that one back for a turn. That's kind of juicy. In limited, I've said this before, with every single sliver, you're gonna play all of the slivers. In constructed, this one looks interesting. Like I said, could be good enough. Endling, 4 mana, 3/3, pile of abilities. Pile of abilities here. Limited bomb. Not constructed playable. Let's move on. Feaster of Fools, 6 mana for a 3/3 with Convoke, Flying, Devour 2. Sure, right? Probably not something that's gonna like draw me into black, but maybe. Yeah, I think you pretty much always play this card. Just sacrificing 1 creature gives you a 5/5 flyer. Pretty reasonable. And if you're looking for a sack outlet, it's pretty great. People said that about Brightling. Some people still say that about Brightling. What are you talking about? Are you planning on viling in Endling? Come on. Give me a hypothetical where Endling's actually good. You can't, because it sucks. It's 4 mana. It's 4 mana for a fucking 3/3. Alright. First Sphere, Gargantua. 6 mana for a 5/4. When it enters the battlefield. Obviously, when I'm saying it sucks, I'm talking about in the context of Modern, right? In the context of Modern. This card is not good. Pretty clear. It doesn't take a lot of processing. 6 mana for a 5/4. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. This card reminds me of the 6 mana 4/4, where you would draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. Some other Phyrexian nonsense thing. And with that card, when you were playing against aggro, even in limited, sometimes you would wish that you weren't losing 2 life. So this is kind of nice that it spreads it out. You lose 1 life when it comes into play, and then another life when you unearth it later. But you could still have the chance to get the same amount of value when it comes back into play off the unearth. Yeah, I like it. This is my kind of shit. Solid limited card. Force of Despair, 1 black. If it's not your turn, you may pitch cast it. Destroy all creatures that entered the battlefield this turn. My Nightmare, I kind of like the art on this card too. It's got sweet art. Oh, it's another Seb, of course. My nightmare with this card is through the Breaching in Emrakul, and your tapped out opponent going, oh, like, deaded anyway. Yeah, so that's the new nightmare scenario. Will this card see play? I don't know. Pitching 2 cards to answer a creature. Man, we just need to build a blue-black deck with all the blue-black gold cards, so they can all pitch to Force of Despair or the negate, the Force of Will negate that's also in here, and then we can just answer all of the creatures and all of the spells at instant speed. Perfect. It's good against Affinity. Yeah. Sometimes Affinity has to split their creatures up, but you're right. It's not bad against them. You're probably gonna get like at least 2 creatures. How do you blink everything to turn it into instant speed damnation? Oh, that's a fucking thought. Anti-dredge? Not. Sweepers aren't very good against dredge unless they're also exiling, right? So the negate exiles, but this doesn't exile. Like against dredge, they're like, all right, get all these amalgams back, and you're like, okay, pitch cast this Force of Despair. Use 2 cards to kill your pile of whatever. And the next turn, they're like, all right, dredge, hit another Narcomoeba, play a land, get back my blood gas, get back all my amalgams. Like, it just doesn't matter. That's like part of why dredge is good. Is their threat base has such resiliency. You think it's good against elves? Yeah, but I mean, elves isn't a big meta share. Yeah, there's a bunch of niche situations where this card is the nuts, but when you look at its average, I'm not sure it's good enough. Is where I'm at with Force of Despair. It's a cool card, though. Super cool. Gluttonous Slug. 2 mana for an 0/3. Menace Evolve. No amount of salt will save you. It's like probably the best flavor text of all time, right? How often do you play this in Limited? Obviously, it's not a constructed card, right? It's a common 2 mana 0/3. But how often do you play this in Limited? I think most times. It blocks well early on. It's got Menace. You know, Menace is a type of evasion for ninjas. And then the Evolve is going to like slowly get bigger and bigger. This card's good. Good filler. Yeah, quality filler. It's not like, you're not going to open it up and be like, oh, Slug, fucking slam that. Now I'm in black. But once you're already black, I think it's a card that you're happy to draft. Grave Shifter. It's a Grave Digger with all creature types. Not too shabby. The Grave Shifter, not going to show up in Constructed. Always going to show up in Limited. Headless Spectre, 1 black for a 2/2 common flyer. When it deals combat damage to a player, if you have no cards in hand, that player discards a card at random. So it's Hypnotic Spectre, but like way worse. But 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer is fine in Limited. Mindrake, 3 mana, target player discards 2 cards with Overload. So if you overload it for 2 mana, instead of playing it for 3, you can have both players discard 2 cards. I mean, if you're playing it as your last card, then Overload's pretty free. Or if you want to get cards in your graveyard somehow, you want to play Mindrake and Mardu. It's an interesting idea. Discard like Lingering Souls and some other spell. Play a Pyromancer the next turn. Then you don't need to overload it if it's your last card. If you're playing 2 spells on that turn, right? So say you've got like 6 mana in play, you could go 4-drop into Overload as your last card. Is the idea that I was talking about. Mob, 5 mana, Convoke, destroy target creature. Quality, good stuff in Limited. You're not going to be embarrassed to pick it super early. You're not going to take it over a bomb, of course. Nether Spirit. Nether Spirit is a big deal because Pox has been missing Nether Spirit specifically. It is quite good in that deck. I don't know if you play 1 or 2, but you definitely play it. And it's definitely real good. Quality card. So I'll play in the Pox decks of old, but and it's certainly going to see play in the small Pox decks of current modern, right? Ninja of the New Moon, 5 mana for a 6/3 and Ninjutsu 4. That's kind of beefy, I guess. Not very good, but I'm sure I'm going to die to it. I'm sure I'm going to die to it constantly. If I try and play it, it'll be terrible. It's one of those cards. How much better is Nether Spirit than Bloodghast in Smallpox? Probably a decent amount, right? You don't want to have to make land drops. This card can block like every single turn. Yeah, this card also blocks, right? So this blocks to protect your Liliana and stuff. And Bloodghast doesn't block at all. A-Rack is not the most aggressive deck, so having that ability is real fucking relevant for that deck. It depends on the deck, right? So in Dredge, obviously another spare wouldn't be very good. Engineer here, 2 and a black. Creature carrier, 2/2, death touch. When it comes to play, choose a creature type. Creature of the chosen type. Your opponent's control, get -1/-1. So you could actually play this for the Human's Mirror and like file it in, or just cast it, you know. And it's all your opponent's control, so it's not gonna shrink your shit. But in terms of just like killing a card like Noble Hierarch, it's a 3-mana Necrotal, and that's pretty juicy. And there are a couple of creature type matters decks in Modern, like well, you know, spirits, humans, elves, and now people are going to try goblins a little bit. Yeah, it's sweet that this card exists. It's sweet that it has death touch too, so like if the ability is not good enough, it can at least like trade off with some giant thing. Against Dredge, you can name whatever the fuck a Bloodghast is. Vampire, I think. Putrid Goblin is the sort of card that's a little bit better than it looks. It's still not amazing, but it'll always make it in the decks that you would assume it would, right? So the Carrion Feeder nonsense decks. Rank Officer. Oh, that's a fun little play on words. 4 mana for a 3/1. When Rank Officer enters the battlefield, you may discard a card. If you do, get a 2/2 zombie. Okay, that's sweet. A little bit of value there. 5 power for 4 mana. 2 mana, exile a creature card from your graveyard. Each opponent loses 2 lives. A little bit of drain there too. Yeah, I like this card. It's cool. I'll play it in limited for sure. Ransack the Lab. 2 mana sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand, the rest into your graveyard. Sweet. Yeah, it's cool that it goes to the graveyard, so it enables graveyard synergies. Doesn't look at as many cards as Impulse. That'd be kind of nuts. Is this card good enough for Constructed? I don't think so. I don't think so quite. I've played some bad ones in Constructed. I played like you mill 3 and return a creature. I've played that fucking card. You like this in Soulflare? Yeah. We've got cards that look at like 5 cards in Soulflare, right? Black Strategic Planning. It is a Black Strategic Planning. Strategic Planning is a little bit more interesting in Legacy because, again, it pitches to Force Will, but if it was in Standard, it would be good. Yeah, if it was in Standard, it would be good. Oh, well. Return from Extinction. 2 mana, choose 1. Return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, or 2 target creature cards that share a creature type from your graveyard to your hand. So we have a zombie version of this for 1 black mana. And I've been playing that card in Pauper, and it is quite good, especially in the decks that care about like sacrificing, getting value and stuff. This one is going to get 2 creatures back a lot of the time, thanks to there being a lot of shapeshifters in this format. So it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be relatively common to get back 2, even if you don't, even if you're not a tribal deck, because the shapeshifters are a thing. But yeah, there's a lot of different creature types. Creature type matters cards, slivers, ninjas, zombies, goblins, etc.
Oh shit, what up?
I usually only play like one of this sort of effect in my limited decks though. It can't recur nameless inversion in Pauper. That's true. That's true. Hey, Bro Jangles live. Thanks for the resub. Thanks for the 2 months. All right, Sadistic Obsession. 4 mana enchant creature. Has 1 black tap. Put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Oh, that is a lot of mana. That is a lot of mana. If you keep it around for a long time, it's just going to slowly chew away at your opponent's board and win the game. But it's a lot of mana. It's a very high risk type deal, I think. High risk, high reward there. Shatter Assumptions. I saw some people talking about this as a Tron hoser. 1 black, target opponent reveals their hand, discards all colorless non-land cards. The issue here is that it costs 3 mana, so 3 mana against Tron. If you're on the draw, they've already played a Karn or a Wormcoil Engine that you have to deal with. If they've got like an average draw, right? Sometimes they stumble and don't get drawn until turn 4. And then the other option is target opponent reveals their hand and discards all multicolored cards, which is actually a hard hoser for Niv, which is sad. So when people are trying out this card before they realize it's not good enough, my Niv deck is going to get destroyed a few times, but that's okay. In terms of limited, obviously you're not casting this card, right? It's not good. All right, Silumgar Scavenger, 5 mana for a 2/3 flying exploit. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. When another creature you control dies, put a 1/1 counter on it. It gains haste until the end of turn if it exploited that creature. Oh, okay. So if you sacrifice a creature to the exploit, then it'll be a 3/4 with haste and flying for 5 mana. Yeah, this card's sweet. Sweet little limited bit of goodness. Slinggang Lieutenant, 4 mana for a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, get 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. Sack a goblin to drain opponent for 1 and gain 1 life. So it's 4 mana, 3 bodies. Will it see constructed play? I don't think so. You didn't realize it gets bigger with every death? Yeah, that makes it look a lot better, huh? We've had that before. What was that, 5 mana uncommon in a recent set? It did something similar, but it didn't have like the sweet exploit ability, so I think this card looks better. There's no cost to sack and drain with Slinggang Lieutenant. Yeah. So like you combine it with like Spark Shooter or something. Sharpshooter. I don't know. Ross played 4 of Slinggang in Verse. Was he playing it in Modern? Obviously, like 4 mana, make 3 1/1s is fine and limited. Yeah, maybe. I mean, if you're giving your goblins a buff, you're spreading it out. Not necessarily Corky Shadow. You can't necessarily give the card all of the abilities on the text, right? Because it might die in combat, and then you don't get to sacrifice your goblins to drain the opponent. So, like, say you play a Slinggang Lieutenant, and your opponent plays a 2/1. Like, now are you only attacking with your 2 1/1s, so you can keep the Slinggang around, and then like you lose some of them, and the ability doesn't like you can't count all of it. The ideally you would play this. Your opponent wouldn't have any blockers or removal. You would hit the opponent a few times, then you'd sack all your goblins to kill them. But in reality, you're probably only going to get part of each. Probably only going to get partial value off of the sack ability. Just the way the magic plays out. Spiting Helix. 3 and a black sorcery. Deals 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life. Flashback for Lightning Helix mana. That's interesting. That's fucking interesting. This card makes me wonder if it belongs in Mardu, right? If you just want to Faithless Looting spells away. Anyway, you're already playing these colors. 4 mana on the face cost is like really high though. Good chance of it getting trapped in your hand. 3 mana. If there's 3 mana, that would be cooking. Play this card for sure. Sorcery speed. Yeah, I don't think that matters that much. If you're just looking to like get graveyard value out of a card. With graveyard value, I don't think it matters that much if it's sorcery or instant. You don't think actual Lightning Helix is good in Mardu? Actual Lightning Helix is good in Mardu. I have played it. It is good. Mardu with the new Pyromancer. Well, I don't know if the new Pyromancer works, right? So you're getting like 3 mana for a 2/2 is kind of a lot, but anyway, we can move on. We can get to that card when we get to it. Throat Seeker, 3 mana for a 3/2. Unblocked attacking ninjas you control have lifelink. How likely is it to get flashback mana in limited? It depends. It depends on the fixing you get, right? That's not really something that I can answer for all limited decks. Anyway, Throat Seeker, 3 mana for 3/2. Unblocked attacking ninjas you control have lifelink. Kind of sweet. Makes it harder to race you. 3 mana for a 3/2 is okay. That means I was Charm. 2 mana, choose one. You can pump something +2/+2. Give something -1/-1. In combat, that's like real similar. Pumping a creature or shrinking a creature. But the ability to use it as like a bad removal spell for a 2/1 if you don't have anything to. If you're not using it in combat, it's still kind of nice. Or you gain 2 life, which is pretty irrelevant most of the time, but when it ever comes up, your opponent's going to feel real bad. Undead Augur, 2 mana for a 2/2. Whenever it or another zombie dies, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Pretty fucking great. Especially being printed in a set with Carrion Feeder, right? Making zombies look real juicy. Unearth. I've seen people try and make Unearth work in Legacy before. They failed. It was not good. But they convinced some other people to try it for a little bit. Return a creature card with convert mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Cycling. Maybe worth mucking around with Death Shadow. Probably not, but maybe. You can try it. Venomous Changeling, 3 mana for a 1/3 and Changeling Death Touch. I think we've had this card before, if I recall correctly. You think Unearth could be good in Black-Green Elves? I do not. Black-Green Elves is a deck where you want your Collected Company to hit like 100% of the time. You can't really waste slots on recursion. Most decks can't waste slots on recursion, even if it does cycle. Venomous Changeling is a new card. Okay, fair enough. It just reminds me of every other fucking Scorpion I've ever seen. It's sweet this is every creature type, though. Word-Eye Witch, 3 mana for 3/2. Whenever it or another creature you control dies, scry 1. Okay, it's filler, right? It's filler, it's a goblin. Yawgmoth, Trained Physician, 4 mana for a 2/4. Protection from humans. Pay a life, second other creature. Put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature and draw a card. Okay, so it's a sack outlet and the engine, right? It's destroying your opponent's creatures while drawing cards. You do have to pay a life for each sacrifice, so it's not can't go too hardwire with it. And then for 2 mana, you can discard a card to proliferate, which is useful with its sack ability because it's spreading -1/-1 counters around. Yeah, how good is this card? 4 mana is a lot in Modern. 4 mana is a lot in Modern. The fact that it's a sack outlet and a draw engine at the same time, though, is what makes it interesting. It's also legendary. This is another card where, like Urza, I'm like, God, this would be great if it was good, but because it costs 4, it's probably not going to be good. A lot of text, though, same as Urza. We'll see. If you only have 2 creatures, can you still draw a card? You certainly can. It's put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature. So you don't have to like target your own creatures with -1/-1 counters if your opponent doesn't have anything. This is the first time we've seen Yawgmoth's face. A lot of people were surprised that Yawgmoth's a human. Unless that like creature in Yawgmoth's will is its face, right? Like, do you think that thing's Yawgmoth? Oh, this is Yawg pre-Phyrexia, and then he wasn't human later. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. He's the big wall in Yawgmoth's Vile Offering. Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right.